Hey everybody, this is Jared. I'm here with Common Motor. This is my 1972 Honda CL350 K4. So originally I was looking for this bike because I've historically restored bikes, little Hondas, since I was about 16 years old, and I'd done a bunch of 360s and I kind of wanted to get into the 350s, and honestly the number one thing that sold me on it was this exhaust and these old style knee guards. So originally I was searching the internets, and Brendan and I from Common Motor have a good relationship, and he always has some for sale, and we started shooting some text messages back and forth and found out he had a Panther green one that a previous customer had been working on and gave back, and I came and checked it out, and then I found a bunch of kind of parts laying around together, and I started having this idea of I want the 350 bike, but I want the CL version with the pipes, and I want the street version of the old retro 68 tank. And so just kind of started formulating an idea in my head, and trying to put a picture in my mind to figure out what I would eventually like to see. Yeah, so I started riding bikes when I was about 12 years old. First mini bike was a little Honda, and then got super addicted at $200 in a swap meet and started rebuilding bikes. One of my first bikes was a 1987 Honda Spree, a little scooter, 50 cc's. You can get up to about 35 going downhill and somebody pushing you. And so yeah, so that one thing led to another, and then I got really into Hondas, and it kind of snowballed. And I think over the course of 34 years, I've somehow accumulated about, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 bikes I've built to date. So it's definitely a hobby, an addiction. Here's everything that I've replaced on my bike since I purchased it. I put a new front tire, rim, and spokes. I took the original 19-inch that came stock on most of the CLs and moved it down to a 18-inch rim because I wanted a more symmetrical kind of style bike. I put all new cables, all new fork gaiters. These headlight ears are actually aftermarket from a 1974 CB350 that I was able to find and modify to fit. I've got a new aftermarket headlight bucket, all new cables, aftermarket lower handlebars just for personal ride styling, new bolt kits, levers, grips. Moving to the tank. The tank is actually from a 1968 CB350. I really liked the way the bike looked with the knee pads and everything. So I replaced the knee pads. The gas cap is brand new. New petcock and fuel lines. And moving to the electronics, I did 2 new coils, condensers, points, and regulator rectifier, and a new battery. So the entire electrical system has been modified and updated. Carburetor for the fuel system, I put new caps on and bolt kit, rebuild kits inside. Moving to the lower portion of the engine, I upgraded all of the original screws to the Allen bolt heads, modified the shifter to an aftermarket one that fits on the 350s and 360s. I took the exhaust from a 1968 CL350 and put it on there because I like the box style. Did a brush effect on the exhaust because the chrome was a little worn out and tired, and then I painted all new the side covers. These side covers have been painted, and these badges are replicas that I got, along with the seat is also modified. It's a CB350 seat. It's been shortened about 1 inch of the foam and has the original seat pan that fits onto the original brackets. Moving to the back, I've replaced the shocks, shortened the fender, cut it and rolled it back a little bit put an aftermarket taillight on there, kept the original 18-inch rim and just relaced it with a black rim and new spokes and a new tire, and then rounded it all out with new brakes in the back. So the first thing that caught my eye on this bike that initially made me even want to get into this build was really this gas tank. I love the old Honda knee pads that they have on the gas tanks, and it just reminds me of this kind of raw, almost scrambler, even cafe racers kind of style, how people get into it. And they had them a lot on the earliers, and I found this gas tank, and I liked the idea of the CL350 the pipes. And so these two components, this boxier older style from the late 60s, early 70s, along with the gas tank, kind of got me into this whole build to begin with. And I wanted to somehow incorporate both the CB350 tank aspect with the high-rise early model CL350 exhaust. So the second thing that really caught my eye that I wanted to change, but kind of leave this look of almost stock, but a little bit of custom to make it my own, was the rear fender. Originally, the rear fender came down a little past this license plate. It had the big bulky headlight, or taillight, I'm sorry. But what I like about it the most is it's something that I've kind of learned over the while I worked on these bikes, and it's nothing heavily fabrication that, you know, anybody with a grinder couldn't learn after a couple mistake, you know, fender chops. So thirdly, I replaced the front rim. In hindsight, I probably could have bought a CB350 and just modified the exhaust, but the price was right, and so the wheel must be changed. So I changed the wheel to the 18-inch from an original 19-inch to match the back, because I like the symmetry a lot more than the 19-inch. I also kind of wanted the similar tire size that you can get on the 18-inch by getting a wider width to match the rear versus having a really skinny, narrow 19-inch rim that's a 3.0 versus, I believe, a 3.5 that you can get on the 18-inch. So one of the most unique and weird things that I had run into after working on several of these CL350s, CB350 bikes, is the exhaust. This old box style early CL exhaust actually has different size collars on the left side and the right side where they meet up to the engine. And so for a couple hours I was sitting there struggling, trying to get the exhaust all the way on, and I couldn't figure out. And a couple diagrams later, through the Common Motor website, kind of told me that there's two different part numbers, and that's how I was able to come up with the different size exhaust collar on the right side. So additional parts that I'd like to change on this bike eventually is just minor modifications. I feel like it's never quite fixed all the way. You know, maybe update and clean up the speedometer, tachometer a little bit, take some of the chrome bits that have wear and tear, you know, the chain adjusters and stuff like that. Small things, just kind of, you know, continually updating it to kind of refine it. It's probably the next steps as far as working on this bike. But ultimately, I think it's a great runner, and I'm pretty proud where I'm at. Okay, so dream riding destinations to take this bike and or any future builds would be to probably go up to Colorado. I've always had this kind of dream of going from Durango up to Silverton, Colorado. There's a really great back roads you can take up there, not too challenging. I've been up there a couple times. I always thought that'd be a great ride to do. Again, this is Jarod with Common Motor. This is my 1972 Honda CL350 K4. Don't forget to follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to their newsletter and their YouTube channel. Link is below, and I'll see you next time.